Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Founders Club. I'm your host, Dez DeCosta. Today I have a very special guest. I have here Romel Ambarchyan. He's the managing partner of RA and Associates. Romel, welcome.
Thank you, Des.
Of course, of course. Well, I'm excited to get dive into your journey and understand more about who you are and what you do. What's your typical day and how do you make it productive?
Every day is a little different. Mondays are typically a little more hectic. Beginning of the week is typically more hectic than the end of the week, but it depends on the day, right? So usually my day consists of typically I meet with different management teams in the office. Our firm is very departmentalized. So I meet with the intake department managers typically on Mondays. I'll meet with my pre-litigation manager on Mondays and an office manager on Mondays, and we'll kind of put together what the game plan is going to be for this week. So Mondays usually consist of a lot of meetings. Tuesdays, Wednesdays are more case reviews. Thursdays are usually the case management development meetings we have. So depending on the day you catch me on, it's something different.
For sure. Well, it sounds like a lot of meetings. So thank you again for making the time today. Just another meeting on
Of
the
course.
books for you. Well, when it comes to cases, how do you decide which cases to take on, especially when the outcome isn't guaranteed?
So there's a lot of factors to it. So the intake department, my intake manager evaluates the case. We have reps that answer the phone calls. They talk to different clients. They get the fact pattern of how the accident happened for the most part. They get insurance information, who's at fault, so on and so forth. And then what happens at that point is we evaluate the case to see if it's a case we can take on or not. So one of the factors we consider is obviously how the accident happened. To us, the main determining factor is who's at fault. Because if our client's at fault for a majority of cases, we can't do much about it. We can't represent the client, we can't file a suit against a third party, and we can't file a claim against an insurance company. So liability is the first component of that. The second component would be once liability is overcome, is the client injured? At the end of the day, if you could be in the worst accident possible, liability could be in your favor. But if you're not injured, you're not hurt, there's not much for me to do about it from my end of it. So the second main component we really look into is, what are the injuries, the extent of injuries. Okay. And third, last but not least, is the impact. How bad was the impact? Is it likely that this individual was injured as a result of this collision? And so we take a look at photos, we take a look at videos, we take a look at police reports, and that kind of goes to the impact itself and whether it's a case that we can take on. So it's a multifaceted approach to it, but every case is analyzed in those three different prongs.
I see. Okay. I mean, there seems to be many different avenues that could go down in any kind of case. There are a lot of variables at stake.
Mhm.
What exactly goes into proving damages in serious injury cases and showing the impact on somebody's life or future earnings? Like, I know you mentioned looking at police reports. What else is there involved?
So the main component, once those three prongs are overcome, is in all frankness, it's going to be the injuries the client sustained and their treatment. Okay, so what happens at that point is the client gets treated either with their providers or there's lien-based doctors we work with, and they get treated depending on their injuries. That's what the value of the case is really, based on. So usually, for the most part, when it comes to any kind of injuries or any kind of compensation that you're going to get for your injuries, it's usually based off four prongs. It's your current medical expenses, your future medical expenses that you're likely to incur. In addition to that, it's going to be your pain and suffering, which is basically, in essence, your present pain and suffering, the hardship you had to deal with as a result of the car accident, and then also future pain and suffering. What are the issues? What are the hardships you're going to have to deal with? And it's very case specific. So you can have a lower back injury, and someone may end up getting a laminectomy, whereas another person doesn't. So you may get a fusion in your neck. So depending on the severity of your injuries, that's kind of that in essence would dictate the value of the case itself. So
Okay.
we analyze it, but these cases take time. So that's why in a typical scenario, we have these clients for a year, 2 years, 3 years until there's a resolution on the case, depending on the severity of injuries.
Wow, okay. You mentioned pain and suffering amongst other things involved.
Mhm.
Now, I hear that term thrown around a lot, right? I think we all do. How do you quantify something like that? Aside from, I mean, you mentioned the medical expenses, but pain and suffering, how do you quantify that?
Yeah, that's the magic question, right? So, that, and frankly, a lot of it is just based off of experience. So once you deal with a lot of these cases, you know what value typically, let's say, for example, a right shoulder surgery would have. It's
Mm,
variable for every client, but at the end of the day, these cases typically have certain values when it comes to pain and suffering. So that could vary anywhere between, I don't know, 5,000 on a case to 5-10 million on another case. But a lot of it is really based off of the hardship and the difficulties an individual has to go through as a result of a car accident. For example, let's say you're an artist, you paint, you play the guitar, whatever the case may be. Injury to your shoulder may be different, or injury to your arm may be significantly different than someone that, for example, doesn't use their extremities in their profession, right? So
mhm.
it's very case specific as well, too. But the best way I can kind of coin pain and suffering is, what are certain things that you could do before the accident that you can't do now, or what are certain things that you're limited doing that you can't do now? That's one of the questions we kind of pose our clients when we're prepping them for depositions is, for them to put or at least put together an idea of the difficulties and injury, the difficulties and the hardships they have to go through as a result of this car accident, and certain things you can't do. So, the profession one is an example I just gave you, but it could vary. It's very case specific.
That makes sense to me. Okay. Well, I feel like you're going up against some very huge players here, the insurance companies, right? They usually have really big teams and resources. How does your firm go up against them and get those win for your clients?
I think the rule of thumb across the board when if you're a plaintiff's firm and if you really want to do well for your clients is to be super aggressive. Okay.
Hmm.
So we kind of approach every case like we're going to take it to trial. Majority of these cases don't end up in trial, right? A majority gets settled either in the pre-lit stage or in the early litigation stage, maybe after some depositions. But the way we approach every case is we're going to go to trial. So you have to be super aggressive with the insurance companies. As you kind of pointed out from your end of it, they have a lot of resources, a lot more than we do, right? So they're able to paper you at a certain point where they're sending over discovery responses, they're propounding discovery, they're setting depositions. You have to be as aggressive as they are, if not more. Okay,
I
you
see.
can't be reactive when it comes to pushing your cases forward. The more reactive you are, the less likely you are to get the full value for the case itself. So I think the word of thumb is like if you're the more aggressive you are, the better likelihood your client has of getting a better settlement at the end of the day.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So, I mean, with your position as managing partner and having to deal with all these meetings all throughout the week, along with all the cases that you have, what is one habit that you feel helps you to stay productive?
Um, I think I don't know if it's necessarily a habit per se, but ever since I first started practicing law, what I do is I have a manila um, a notepad every day. I come in and when I come in the morning early on, I put a list of all the tasks for the day. And I don't like to type it out. I like to physically write it out. And then what I'll do with the red pen is I'll cross them out as I go throughout the day. And what that does for me is that creates some kind of an order throughout the day. I've tried typing it out and then, going with the computer. It doesn't work. I like the physical writing it out. And then I feel like when you accomplish a task and you cross through it, you feel like you accomplished a certain part of your day. So I think it helps me organize the day, number one, to begin with. And I think, just subconsciously, when I go through the end of the day and I have all these red marks throughout my notepad, I feel like I've accomplished certain tasks for that day.
Yeah. Yeah, it activates your reward center, I'm sure,
Yes.
when you're seeing that physically crossing it off as
It
well,
does.
too.
And I've been doing it for years. I've been doing the same method for years, day in, day out.
Trusty notepad. Keep
Yeah,
it simple. Love it.
always, always.
How do you bring your ideas to life now? So, say if it's, anything, it could be in your personal life or
Mhm.
professional life. What does that look like for you?
Obviously planning is a big stage. I mean, I could talk about my professional life in that sense of it. As far as, when I make a decision on something or when I incorporate or when I want to incorporate some new facet to our firm, whether it's marketing related, whether it's operations related, I
Mhm.
think, the initial phase of it is this brainstorming phase where I like to sit in a quiet place, okay, alone for the most part, very few distractions, and I'll get like a notepad and I'll kind of jot down some ideas and I'll kind of formulate it. So that stage of it is, more so the brainstorming phase of putting things together, formulating ideas. And then little by little, throughout the day, I'll kind of analyze it throughout the day over with I usually don't share it with others until I come to a point where I feel like, okay, I'm at a point where I've kind of worked out some of the kinks. Then I'll kind of present it to either coworkers or my wife, whatever the case may be, and we'll kind of analyze it at that point. But to me, that's kind of the stages I go through. I like to be in solitude when I plan on something new.
Yes, well, how powerful. I don't know. I think that a lot of new entrepreneurs that may be listening or, hearing this for the first time sometimes would miss that step of solitude and mental quietude and
Mhm.
the answers that come during that time. Wonderful. Well, what advice would you give your younger self?
Be patient, I think. I think sometimes when you're younger, you're kind of trying to get to a certain stage or a certain state, whether it's your business or personal life, but you're trying to expedite it as much as possible, and you got to enjoy the ride. So you got to be patient with it. It'll come in time. I think if you put in the time, you put in the effort, like in anything else, it's going to mature. It's going to mature and it's going to grow into something that you're going to like in the future. But yeah, my 2 cents to me is, in my 20s would be, be patient with it. It'll happen. Put in the
Yeah.
time, it'll happen. There's nothing to rush.
Wonderful. Well, as you can tell, these questions have moved a little bit more from, your industry specific expertise to now
Mhm.
getting to know you more as managing partner and how your mind works and things. So aside from that, tell us something that you believe that almost nobody agrees with you on. Something that maybe at Thanksgiving or at the dinner table you try to not mention. I'm kidding, but something that maybe would be a curveball to some folks.
Off the top of my head, I mean, not necessarily. It's not like I'm combative when it comes to certain things, but my issue is always the fact that if I don't believe in something or if I don't agree with it, uh, I don't hesitate to make my feelings known, to say the least. So, that's at times for certain people it may be a little combative, but that's who I am. So if I don't agree with something or if I think something's off, whether it's work related or personal life related, I make sure to convey it. I don't keep it inside. I don't like to procrastinate when it comes to things like that. I feel like if there is an issue, whether work related or personal related, if you address it head on, early on, you're more likely to have an answer to it than let it fester for your time.
Right? There's so much power and freedom in just being true and living
Yeah.
in your truth. Well, when you feel overwhelmed and unfocused, I know you always, not always, but I know you mentioned there's always a lot going on in your
Mhm.
day. What do you do to find that center again?
I meditate in the mornings.
Hmm.
At the very least, I try to put in like 15 minutes to 30 minutes every day in the morning before I get to work. So I think that helps a lot for me. And if I am overwhelmed at work, if I do get overwhelmed at any one day, I just take off. There's days where I'll just pick up and I'll leave for a couple hours, take a walk, take a drive, whatever the case may be, to kind of rebalance, regroup, and kind of come back into it again. But I think the key to that is also to have a routine. And for me, the routine is the meditating in the morning, working out. I think it helps me throughout the day when I start doing that.
Yes, rest is also productive, right? What would you say is one strategy that has helped you grow your business and advance your career?
Early on, I think the issue I had was I tended to believe and think that I could do it just solely myself. I didn't need much help, you know. However, I think throughout the years, I've come to kind of come to more understand and welcome help and support. So I'm more reliant on staff. I'm more reliant on my managers than I ever have been before. Whereas in the beginning stage of my career, I was more reluctant to give any control or to give any to take someone's opinion and kind of incorporate it into mine or open meeting day on once a month where I meet with all the managers and it's like it's a round table and we discuss different topics and I'm a lot more open to accepting opinions and recommendations than I ever have been before. I think that's what I would recommend to anyone younger is to be more open to it. There's a lot you can learn from others.
Yes, definitely. Well, you kind of delved a little bit into the beginning stages of your business, and I would love to know if you would love to share any one failure in your career, how you overcame it, and what lessons you took away from that.
Hmm. Um, I think, you know, one big failure, for lack of a better word, more is more of a timing issue. Obviously we all went through COVID, and my initial phase into my relaunching and my marketing campaigns was right in the outset of COVID. Literally, as we shut down, I had already spent a really big chunk of money for me at the time.
Hmm.
And so, at that time, I think it was a failure across the board just because my marketing campaigns, none of them panned out. And what I learned from that is the same thing I brought up, which is, to be patient with it. Obviously, it's really tough when you hit a wall, you fail at something, it could be anything. But I think you tend to learn more from your failures from my end of it than you do from your successes. So, to me, I learned a lot from that. I mean, obviously, some of it was out of my control in the context of COVID, but I also learned to be patient with it. Don't be so stuck on end results, but just, plot away, plug away, and then eventually it'll kind of pan out eventually at a time. So,
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, hard work and patience seems to be a recurring theme in this interview, and I love it. Now, the next, actually, final set of questions are a little bit more, fun, random, sporadic. What's one trend that excites you?
I think, like with most people nowadays, AI,
Yeah,
you know,
I gotta say, I think you're maybe the sixth or seventh interview I've done that has said that answer, which is, I
it
mean,
is,
that's,
because there's
yeah.
so much unknown, right?
Hmm.
I recently had a conference with Google, maybe 3, 4 months ago through YouTube, that is, and we're seeing some of the products that are coming out, and like it's crazy. So to me, I think that's the trend that I think everyone's like really anticipating to see how it's going to impact their specific fields,
Yeah.
and what that encompasses. So I think to me that would be, along with any others, would be one of the interesting trends I'm looking forward to see.
I would agree with you as well. I mean, we can already even just see with stock prices and certain trajectories, we can kind of anticipate where this is going.
Mhm.
So I understand the answer. All right. What is one business idea you're willing to give away to listeners right now? If you had to kind of, scrap everything and start all over, or, you're happy where you're at and you were just to maybe give somebody an idea and you knew that it would succeed, what would that be?
I don't know if it's necessarily an idea as much as just a mindset to have, especially when early on. I've noticed you got to kind of trust your own instincts. If you believe in something, if you believe in an idea, a business venture, whatever the case may be, you may have a lot of naysayers. You may have a lot of people, family, friends,
Yeah.
coworkers, acquaintances that may be, for lack of a better word, not all that excited about it. Maybe may not be supportive of it, whatever the case may be. But go with your gut. If you believe in something, whether it's a concept, whether it's a business idea, whether it's a product, whatever the case may be, I think your gut never lets you down. I would really hone in on that. I think you're going to get a lot of naysayers. You're going to get a lot of scenarios where clients or people, friends and may be not as supportive, but you got to kind of rely on yourself. Do it yourself.
I love that. Very important. All right. Now, you mentioned the trusty notebook and the trusty notepad, but what is one piece of software that helps you stay productive?
For our end of it, it's more specific to personal injury firms, but we use Salesforce. I know it's a big platform, CRM platform. We also use CasePure for individually for our case management, and I think that really helps us kind of organize our cases. When you have so many cases coming in on a monthly basis and you're working them up, it's critical that you're able to kind of maintain them. And I think both CasePure and Salesforce have been a really big asset for us.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. What's the best 100 bucks you've recently spent and what was it on?
That's a good question. Uh, Recently, $100 that I spent, and what was it on?
Mhm.
Um, it had nothing to do, it had nothing to do with me and my work, but
Yeah.
I went to I went to my son's into Pokemon cards. So
Nice.
I bought him a box of it or a packet of it recently, and from his end of it, when you see your kids happy with something, it makes you happy. So yeah, thank you that way.
Wonderful. Did you guys do the whole card pulling and
Oh
all
yeah,
that?
all of it. He does it. I
Yeah.
just watch.
Nice. Oh, that's fun. Well, next one. What is your favorite book or podcast? Do you have any that you would recommend to anyone?
It's not so business related. I mean, listen, I'm a guy,
Yeah.
so I like the Joe Rogan podcast. I also like
Yeah.
Lex Friedman.
Mm-hmm.
So podcast wise, those are the two I primarily listen to.
Joe Rogan, number one podcaster. So
Yeah, yeah.
love that guy. All right. Last but not least, what's a movie or series you recently enjoyed?
Recently enjoyed. It's really not off the rail, but it has nothing to do with me and my profession. But I watched the recent series about it was called Snowfall on Hulu.
Okay.
Uh, and it's about uh the crack and coke epidemic in LA in the 70s and 80s.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's
Oh, I
pretty
may
cool.
have
It's a
to
pretty
watch
cool show.
Snowfall. Well, I usually like those kind of rabbit holes, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to watch that. Well, sounds good, Ramo. Well, thank you so much. We've actually reached the end of this episode at this point. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, you can take a look at our website, obviously, www.raandassociates.com. It's my main site.
Wonderful. All right, well, we'll catch you later. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Des.